All right, we're live. Hey, Sassafras Red is waiting to see the big guy. Hang on a second. Where is the big guy? Where could he be? Let me see here. Oh, let's see. Oh, there he is. Right about right about there. Hey, just a garden gnome here. Hi everybody. It's Wednesday night and it's time for another live stream. Let me get my green screen adjusted here. I'm kind of disappearing. How's that look? Is that better? No, that's too much. Right about there. What do you think? All right, let's hit the extra light here. Probably use a little extra light. There we go. Get these curtains moved over the way out of the way here. All right. Hi everybody. We've got Moon Sprouts as a new member. She's not really a new member. She's an older member. That she's rejoined as a member once more. Thank you very much for joining as a member. If you guys have not checked out Moonsprout's channel yet, I would highly recommend you guys go check her out. She's got a very nice channel. Let me share the link here real quick. Remember where I'm at. I'm in StreamYard. There we go. All right, come down here, look at my new comments. There it is. And let me go ahead and switch over to this view right here. I've got her channel up here, and I was looking at the kind of stuff that she's been doing. Right off the bat, she's got that video there, extra things you can do to culture your sourdough starter, right? Lots of sourdough making recipes, and I do love a good bread, although I try to avoid eating a lot of it. It's good stuff. But she has other videos here as well. Little coverage of the 2023 ice storm, all that ice covering everything down there in Texas. This is 2 years running. They've been getting some rain-fed rainwater or gravity-fed rainwater garden system. So there's a drip irrigation that's gravity-fed using rainwater in the garden. That's worth looking at. 3 homestead plants you can propagate in water over the winter. I wasn't thinking tomatoes, but yeah, she included tomatoes in there. Of course, elderberry, some other things that you might want to look at. Just sort of things you can do as you're approaching spring to get yourself ready. Expanding the edible things that you've got growing. Let's see. Here's a creamy rabbit stew and sourdough dumplings. Okay, stop me right now because that's just right up my alley. All right, good stuff. Good stuff to be seen over there at Moonsprout's channel. So go check her out. We got Hardneck in here with us. Vicky Savage saying hello, asking me, of course, if I have planted those Apios americana that she sent. She sent 4 of them. Apios americana is also called groundnut. It's a vining plant that produces an edible tuber. They can be little tiny, like the ones that she sent me. They're little bitty, but they'll get up to be, up to maybe fist size. And of course, they multiply. So hopefully they grow and multiply for me. But I got them planted. We'll see how they do. And thank you, by the way. Let's see. Guys are getting some weather events going on in the Ozarks. Oh my goodness! Yeah, you're not far away from Bull Shoals. Alrighty. Okay, well, she lives in Texas, and they have different climate down there. You got to understand, you can grow all year round in Texas. You can't quite do that where we're at. See, I moved far enough north to get away from fire ants because I can't stand fire ants. They can't stand me either. So since we couldn't reconcile our differences, I just moved far enough north that we don't bother each other. But now I have this thing called winter that I have to deal with. We got Ken Jennings in the house. Hello, Ken. Oh, you've been doing the hard work. I was mucking out the duck hut, replacing it with fresh bedding and transplanting daylilies and getting goomy berry trees started. Bushes, well, bushes, not trees. It's more of a bush than a tree. Anyway, Mary is driving. She's going to be in here a little bit later on, so hopefully we'll finish up before she gets here. All righty. Vicky has some more information about those ground nuts. The variety she sent was an LSU improved. It's supposed to be able to get up to basketball size. Woohoo! That's going to be nice. That's going to be nice. That's like, it's kind of like a yam, but we can grow it more in a more of a northern climate. There is a yam that we can grow actually in Zone 7 and even further north, but it's the Dioscorea polystachya cinnamon vine, and the tuber it makes goes like straight down, and it's long and narrow. So imagine you've got a long 2 or 3 foot long tuber going straight down to the ground that you have to dig out somehow. That might be a little bit of a problem for most of us. I mean, I've got soft, loamy soil in the backyard at least where I could probably do something like that. But up front, we've got clay, and that's not going to work. I'm still working on getting that softened up. All right. You'd rather bust concrete over making that. It didn't take too awful long. It was like 3 wheelbarrow loads full of stuff, moved over to the compost heap, spread out the bat, let it air dry for the rest of the afternoon, and then spread out the batting before I put them to bed. This hoopness is not an annual crop. All right. Hi, everybody. So I got you in here with a promise of a contest and a giveaway. I'm going to show you what it is. I'm going to show you what you could win. For starters, this is up for grabs in the form of either a Haas Tools or maybe some seed company gift certificate or possibly an Amazon gift card. I don't really know what we're going to do in that respect. I'll probably run a poll here in the next couple of days, and we'll put it up in our about section, right? Ow, there we go. We'll put that up in the about section. We'll run a poll and see what you'd rather have. And if enough people are interested, we might have some more prizes. So we might do an Amazon card. Ooh, I better be careful with this thing. These teeth are sharp. We might do an Amazon card and a Haas Tools card and who knows what else. All right, let me get this thing. Better be careful with this. All right, so what would you do with an Amazon gift card? I don't know. You might buy something like this, which I'm not going to cut myself with because it's very sharp. This is a 30-inch timber saw. It's about $100 on Amazon, right? And a little bit more. I think it's like 107, 108 with the shipping and everything, or the taxes and everything. That's what you could get for $100 on Amazon. With one of these, if the supply chain fails and you can't get any gasoline to go into your chainsaw anymore, and you can't get replacement chainsaw blades or anything else like that, you can still cut down trees, manage your timber, and supply your wood stove with firewood. You just need to make sure you eat hearty. So, some cool stuff that you could get to help you out with prepping and gardening. Oh, that's an upside down. You're going to get one of these slightly overweight exhibitionists, or at least a gift card with that sort of value. And all you have to do, guys, to enter into this competition, there's 2 stages. First off, you have to enter, and second off, you have to meet your qualification. To enter the competition, you have to make a video. I know it's a competition where you do have to make a video, but you have to make a video where you are planting this plant. Now, you don't have to plant quite this many seeds, right? But the plant we're going to be planting this year is the lowly sunflower. And the reason, of course, that we want to plant lots and lots of sunflowers this year more than ever is because of their ability to absorb cesium-137 and strontium-90 from the soil. Just on the off chance that the clown show in charge managed to get us involved in some sort of a nuclear war, we would like to have the sunflowers already in the ground and growing to soak up that radiation. All right. So I have an ulterior motive for wanting everybody to start planting sunflowers because I'd like to be able to eat in the future. Toxic soil, radioactive soil doesn't really agree with me in my complexion. It makes me turn a little gray. All right. So the contest is, how many sunflowers can you plant? We'll begin with make a video, post it with the hashtag sunflower 2023, just like that. All right, so we can find the video. Of course, come back and comment down below on this live stream that you have made that video and provide the link. Don't worry, it won't show up immediately. I'll have to approve the comment, but I'll see it and I'll make sure it gets posted so we can all go and look and see that yes, you have actually qualified by actually planting your own sunflowers. I don't want people to go out and try to win the competition by stealing other people's sunflowers, although I'm sure that may eventually wind up happening, because the way we're going to find out who the winner is at the end of your growing season, whenever the sunflower seeds have set on the heads and they're ready to harvest. The way we would handle disposing of nuclear waste if we get nuked is you gather up those stalks and you would take them all to one place and dispose of them as hazardous waste. They'll pull up the fallout from the soil, leaving your soil safe to grow food in again, leaving your water safe to drink again. So that's the benefit of growing them if we get nuked. The benefit of growing them if we don't is sunflowers are delicious. The birds and the wildlife love them. And it's always nice to have plenty of those out there, because the birds that come in and eat those are the birds that are going to want to hang around your property and feed your pest insects to their babies. So you benefit and benefit and benefit whoever gathers the most sunflower stalks at the end of the season, after having qualified by providing us with a video showing us that they are indeed planting sunflowers. Whoever manages to gather the most stalks will get the grand prize of $100 worth, and it will either be an Amazon gift card where you can buy fun stuff like that timber saw, or a gift card for some sort of a seed company. I would say a $100 gift card for greencountryagroforestry.com and our website, but right now the only thing we have for sale are Redbud Trees heirloom corn seed, and we put the daylilies back up for oh my goodness, I have to show you guys. We put the daylilies back up for sale. I was out there day before yesterday. I was out there in the backyard, and I was getting our gopher-proof beds prepared to transplant some walking onions. We had drought last year, and so we're not providing walking onions for sale this year. Unfortunately, we had to nurse them along, and we're getting them ready for sale this coming spring season. So this next year we're going to have them. We don't have them ready yet. I'm sorry. I was getting that bed ready, and I noticed that some of our daylilies had spread from the nursery area into the walkway. And it was only a little bit, about maybe 9 inches, where some plants had managed to get in about a 3-foot long strip. Altogether, if they've been densely planted, it was about maybe a square foot worth of daylilies. And so I went ahead and uprooted those, got ready to transplant them to a place where I can put them. Realized, hey, wow, our plants survived. They got through the drought okay. We've got enough that we can afford to part with some. So we've gone ahead and put the daylilies back up for sale on the website. I think I'm going to go back in and add another price point where you can get maybe 25 instead of just 4. 4 ships nicely in a small container that I can ship for about $8 shipping. So your basic size is 4. It used to be 6, but then I realized that if it's later on in the season, they're getting big, I can't fit 6 in there, and I have to get with a larger size flat rate shipping box, and that just spoils it. I wind up having to pay money to send plants to you. So it wound up being 4, and we had to raise the prices because shipping has gone up again and everything is more expensive. So I compared prices with other large nurseries, and I'm seeing 3 for $12, 3 for 13, 5 for 13. So 4 plants for $10, well, 4 for $9.99 is not that much in comparison. It's actually a little bit better than most. Anyway, so what I was getting at was I went ahead and I harvested the tubers that are all, well, they're all in here. Let me lower the camera a little bit so you can look down in there and see all of the tubers that we, oh, shoot, hang on. I am just having some issues here. Where is my screen? There it is. All right. I hit a button. All right. Here's all of these tubers that we harvested. This is Hemerocallis fulva, the tubers of that plant, right? And these are just the ones that I cleaned up out of the walkway because I needed to move them. 400 grams altogether from about 1 square foot worth of intensive planting. 166 calories. And you could get maybe 300 to 400 grams, depending upon how close together these plants are. If they're densely packed, 1 full square foot densely packed, it may be 400 or even as much as 500 grams that you're getting. But it's 166 calories for 100 grams. So that 400 grams there represents about 650, 660 calories, or about a third of a day's worth of caloric intake. And it doesn't take much time at all to produce a planting of daylilies around your property in areas underneath trees, places where you don't really necessarily need grass, but you can have something else growing. And daylilies are wonderful. If you don't get flowers from them because they're getting too much shade, they're still producing those tubers. So for about 1,500 square foot planted into daylilies, you're going to get enough for 2,000 calories a day for a full year. It's an amazing plant. It's just one of those ones that people have forgotten was a vegetable. It came over from China back in the early colonial days, really early on, maybe even pre-colonial. Those very first settlements before the colonies were even official, and it's spread across North America since then, and it may as well be native. You can find it growing in ditches in some places, but we do have them for sale if you can't find one growing in a ditch nearby, and we'd be happy to provide them for you. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back and add a 25 plant bulk order so that you can get a discount deal. I think I'll do that right after the stream. We'll go ahead and add that on because we do have enough that we can ship a few of those. All right. Let's see. What else? What else would you like to know about these things, huh? Whenever you harvest them, I'll get this up so you can see. You want the lighter colored tubers. This is about 1 year old, possibly 2 year old tuber. All right. And they're little tiny things about the size of my finger. And you'd think that they're hard to manage. Actually, they're not hard to manage at all. You just use your garden fork, pull up the plant, and then just pop them off, throw them into a bucket, pop, throw them into a bucket. The plant doesn't mind because all these is just extra nutrient storage for the plant. It's extra nutrient storage. It doesn't actually really need all of these. You can leave it 1 or 2. If you're planting, say, going into fall and you want it to have something to survive on during the winter, you can leave it with 1 or 2. These are harvested, of course, in the spring. So if you're looking at 1 or 2 year old tubers, they look about like this. The taste is like a potato. I mean, exactly like a potato. And right now, since I par cooked these, took about 10 minutes in boiling water to par cook them after I washed them off. I can just eat it just like it is. Now, it kind of tastes like I'm eating a raw potato. That's what it tastes like. So with some butter and salt, they'd be great. Even better in a stew, soups and stews. Good stuff. And just so calorie dense. The flowers themselves are high in protein. You can eat them fresh like lettuce. They're better than lettuce. They're sweet and tasty. You can dry them out and use them as a thickener for soups and stews. In dried form, the flowers have about 9 grams of protein per 100 grams and about 25 grams, oddly enough, of fat per 100 grams. So it's a fat and protein food source from the flower and more of a carbohydrate, starch, resistant starch though, calorie from the root. So the entire plant is a vegetable. I had a little piece of skin stuck between my teeth. Oh, Bonnie Blue 2A is wondering what I'm eating. I just ate one of these little beauties. This is a tuber from a Hemerocallis fulva, the orange daylily, the classic orange daylily. The one I have in the thumbnail picture is a red-throated daylily, and I want to get some of those. I know a guy up in Canada that's got some that I want to get from him. I haven't managed to get a hold of them yet. They're pretty much the same as the orange one. It just got a different coloration of the flower. Anyway, so they produce these little tiny tubers. They taste like potatoes. It takes about a year for them to develop after you've planted the plant. But whenever you pull up the plant, you pull them up and you're going to divide them because they make little runners, 2 or 3 extra plants every year. You just pull those off, separate them out. Now you've got 3 times the plants that you started with. Pop your tubers off, throw them in a bucket. Whenever you got your bucket full of tubers and you've replanted all of your daylily plants, because you're going to spread them, you're going to get more and more every year. It's one of those crazy things. The more you harvest, the more abundant your harvest becomes later on. It just keeps going and going. So you get these, wash them up, par cook them for about 10 minutes in boiling water. It makes them nice and soft and tender. And yes, they taste just like a potato. 166 calories per 100 grams, about like a potato. 570 milligrams of potassium per 100 grams. And the lighter colored ones, the lighter the better. You can find some like, okay, so this one here, this is probably a 2 or 3 year old tuber, and it's not going to taste very good. I would not eat this one unless I'm just really, really hungry. But I could always mix this in with feed for an animal, for example. Like I'm going to feed a hog or a duck, perhaps, right? I can mix this in with their feed. Here's one that's probably about a year old. It's turning a little bit darker brown, but it's still going to be edible and it's not going to have a funky flavor to it. So, good stuff. Oh, that's nice. That one's really nice. So you mix it in with whatever seasonings you want, right? Great to go on your soup or stew. 166 calories per 100 grams. And like I said, this part here, 400 grams worth, came out of about maybe a foot to a foot and a half worth of space. It grew in there over the past season. So it's 1 year's growth. Some of these are older plants that were in there, like they had the little bit older bit there. And those are 2-year growth. Great stuff. Bonnie Blue is saying they grow all over. Yeah, they grow everywhere. So if you got them growing, if you have them growing nearby, you go grab some, bring them in, put them in your yard. Every year or two, divide them up, gather the tubers. It's food, and it's good food. Unlike a potato, where you may not necessarily want to leave your roots in the ground all the time. Daylilies you can leave in the ground. Harvest them when you're hungry. Harvest only what you need to eat. Spread them around. That means later on, whenever you harvest again, you'll have even more. So every time you harvest and you spread the plants out again, you're just creating a larger and larger harvest for you later on. It's really an amazing plant. And once you have tasted the flower and realize how delicious it is, once you've tried the tubers and realize, oh my gosh, these things are great. They're filling. They don't taste funky or weird or anything. You're going to love it. And you're going to have them all over the place. Vicky is asking, I actually experimented with this early on when I first introduced the daylily, and I took the tubers and I planted them. And I don't know if I followed up with that, but I said, yeah, the tubers themselves, once you've got them planted, will not grow into a new plant at all. So these things do not feel any shame or reservations at all about plucking them off and cooking them and eating them, because that plant is going to be just fine without it, as long as it's not going into a like a 3-year winter or something. Incidentally, if we do go into a 3-year winter, one of the plants that absolutely will survive that is the daylily. So it's good to have them around. If things go really, really bad, they'll still provide you with food. And oddly enough, it's not bad tasting food either. It's pretty good. All right. So for latecomers, I'm going to get to Moonsprout's question in a minute. For latecomers that missed it, what we're doing this year is a challenge. I want you guys to grow as many sunflowers as possible. You don't have to make them oilseed sunflowers. You can grow mammoth sunflowers if you want. If you want to grow Tithonia diversifolia or one of the perennial sunflowers, absolutely you can do that as well. Something you should note about perennial sunflowers, they do work really well at bioremediation. Just every year you harvest the tops and move them over to the hazard waste area, run a Geiger counter over them, and whenever they stop clicking, you're done. But regular sunflowers will do the trick as well. They soak the radioactive isotopes cesium-137 and strontium-90 out of the soil. So if we have radioactive fallout due to some completely and totally unforeseeable events that might happen in the world around us, the sunflower will actually help us. If people look out their window and see sunflowers from sea to shining sea in alongside every highway, in every center median, in the public spaces, in the parks, next to the grocery stores, appearing in people's windowsills and everywhere they look, and they wonder why in the world are the people of America planting so many sunflowers, you can tell them the reason we're planting them is because we have idiots for leaders, and we'd like to not die from starvation. We'd like our soil to be free from contamination of radioactive metals. So we're planting sunflowers, and I will pay $100 to whoever can plant the most sunflowers. 2 stages to this competition. Stage 1, plant your sunflowers, make a video that you're planting the sunflowers. The hashtag we've already linked in the chat. That will appear in a day or two whenever the chat becomes public. But it is hashtag sunflower 2023, right? Sunflower 2023, all one word. Moonspout says Operation Sunflower. We could look for Operation Sunflower as well. What this is an anti-nuclear war protest movement, but it's also a potential means of fixing a problem if one arises. And at the very least, you're going to have lots of sunflowers to feed to the birds, like this happy fellow here, the cardinal. Cardinals love sunflowers, and one thing that cardinals love even more than eating sunflowers is taking the nasty little bugs that destroy your garden and feeding those to their babies. So you feed sunflowers to your cardinals. The cardinals will build their nests nearby, and not only do you have pretty birds to look at, but they'll come along and they'll grab the nasty bugs that are trying to destroy your crops and feed those to your babies. So you'll have even more happy cardinals that are pretty to look at. They'll help you by eating your nasty bugs. So all kinds of benefits come from growing sunflowers. You can, of course, press them for the oil. Makes a good salad oil, among other things. So Stray Kitten is asking, could sunflowers help East Palestine, Ohio? Not sunflowers, but there are some other things that we can try for bioremediation that may help. Sunflowers are particularly good for things like strontium and cesium. If you want to get rid of things like lead, the champion there is Datura or Jimson weed. Another good reason not to smoke Jimson weed, kiddies. It absorbs toxic levels of lead. You don't want to be smoking that. All right. There are some bacteria and possibly fungal remediation things that you could do for East Palestine, preferably before they set it on fire. That's the problem. The vinyl chloride, there's a bacterium that you could inoculate straw bales with, and then just go ahead and open up the car and let all of it out, and that bacteria would render it harmless to the environment in short order. But we don't have really intelligent people working for emergency management these days. All right. So Vicky is telling us more about the Apios or Hopnus, the groundnut that she sent us. Hopefully it grows well, and we'll be able to show that to you in some videos coming up. Apios is a perennial crop that should be allowed to grow at least 2 years before harvest. After that, so kind of like the Indian breadroot that we're getting ready to start up here. It's technically should be about every 2 years or so. These guys I got from Prairie Garden Seeds up there in Saskatchewan. All right. It's a little legume, right? These guys are here. I can't see them. Like little tiny peas, but the root is edible, and it takes about 2 years for it to develop too. So I'm thinking about growing these in our gopher-proof bed to begin with, and then we'll spread them out from there. Um, it's just after that first 2 years, you treat them like Jerusalem artichokes. Harvest what's big enough and leave the rest to grow, which basically is what I do with the daylilies too. You dig them up, you harvest the part that you need, you replant the plant. If you've got more plants, because they like to propagate from runners. Moonsprout was asking about this a minute ago. Whenever you dig up your daylily plant, and I don't have any right now because I went ahead and planted them all, but it'll come up in a clump. Each clump has a central stalk that looks kind of like a fancy blade of grass. As a matter of fact, you can just plant these densely and let them grow like an ornamental grass and just never mow your yard. And if it's really shady, they won't produce flowers, but they'll make that ornamental grass looking stuff, and the tubers will develop. So you still get the tubers, even if it's too shady for flowers. Anyway, you'll have that central stalk that comes up. And early in the spring, you can cut those shoots and you can saute them, a little bit of butter, olive oil, or hazelnut oil. Sunflower oil would be good. A little bit of salt, cracked pepper, and yum yum in the tum tum. High in protein early on in the spring. But after that stalk comes up and it starts to get a little bit more fibrous, you probably don't want to eat it. You might peel it away and eat the center part, kind of like a celery or asparagus, right? Flowers will come on after a few months, and you can keep on picking those and eating them. You can pick the flower buds before they open and eat those as well. But every year or so, the plant will send off a little runner to the side, and it may send off one or two. Usually at least one, often two, sometimes as many as three. Average probably about two. Every year, two runners, and each one of those will develop its own root system, and they'll grow in together. So whenever you dig it up, you're digging up a little clump that's managed to get itself really tightly woven together. And the fact that it weaves itself together like this makes it great for crowding out other things. If you plant daylilies and plant them intensively, they will crowd everything else out at the ground cover level. So essentially, you've got a ground cover and herbaceous perennial layer vegetable. It's taking two slots, two niches, or two layers in your food forest. But since it produces the edible flower and an edible tuber, no, it provides you with two crops, so it's worth it. Anyway, let me see. Victoria is asking, how long after last frost do we plant the seeds outdoors? Which seeds, Victoria? Let me go back up and see in reference to which seeds. I don't know which seeds. Sorry. Moonsprout is saying great. That daylily is great feed for chicken and rabbit. If we're talking about daylilies, you can almost get away with dividing them and planting them anytime. Almost. In the middle of summer here at 7 and further south, you might want to avoid digging them up in the middle of summer, because then it's just it's hard for plants to bounce back. But I will say this. Last year, the city of Tulsa, since we live on the very last street of the city of Tulsa, wanted to make some modifications to their water line. And since this is like the last bit before they go and dump their excess, right, their blow off valve is right across the street from us. They had to dig up our front yard and replace the water main that was there. And that meant that I had to remove and replant all of the daylilies that I had planted over there. So in the middle of summer, I had to dig all these plants up, and they had to be out of the ground for a couple of days. And then I had to put them back once again in the middle of summer. And we had a drought last year. So all that going against them. I forgot. Whenever they finished reburying that water main, they inverted our soil layers. So all of the topsoil that I've just spent the past few years developing in the front yard in that spot is now inverted, and it's just bare clay again. And I had to get the plants replanted into that. and they survived, and they're growing again. And we were able once more to offer daylilies for sale on the website, packs of 4, which will actually fit into a an $8 flat rate shipping box, which is a little bit less expensive than some other nurseries sell them for. And of course, I'll have a bulk quantity available too after this live stream is over. Don't let me forget. I need to go add that to the website. And Carolyn is saying, yes, did you say that I sell these daylily plants? I do. Right now, I have the classic orange daylily, the ones with the really long flower stalks, big orange flowers, sometimes double petaled orange flowers, which is kind of nice if you're eating them as a lettuce substitute, because they're really good as a lettuce substitute. Those ones, and they produce lots and lots of flowers and lots of tubers. This is really the classic Chinese vegetable, right? I have those, and I have a bunch of other cultivars of daylily that are a little bit shorter, the Stella Oro varieties, and a few others that are sports that I need to spend a few years developing my stock of before I can start selling them. But I do have some depth in variety that I can offer as time goes on. I think you say, unfortunately, quack grass will find its way. I mean, sometimes you do get like little bits of this and that. I've had sticker grass grow up out of a clump of daylilies. Like, how in the heck did you find a way to come up out of there? But for the most part, they crowd out just about everything else. I am running out of coffee, guys. So, how's everybody doing? Huh? Hardneck is saying Uncommon Sense News 777 has a video on how to clean dioxins out of the soil, water, etc. Yep, that is cool stuff. Back in 2021, it's my overhead light's motion sensitive. It's solar powered and motion sensitive. If I sit still for too long, I lose some of my light. Back in 2021, researchers discovered a species of bacteria. It's a coccoid bacteria. It's Dihela-coccoides, if I'm not totally mangling that pronunciation. And the species was Ethenogen. So Dihelo-coccoides, or Dihelo-coccoid Ethenogen, that particular bacterium, capable of digesting vinyl chloride, capable of digesting a variety of different chlorinated compounds, including dioxins and stuff like that. So it's been known to exist for 22 years now. 2001, yeah, 2001 was whenever that research came out. And oddly enough, I found this information on the Department of Energy website on phytoremediation. I kid you not. One U.S. government department had information that another U.S. government department could have been making use of, but of course, you'd have to actually care about environmental cleanup to be looking at that information, right? Hardneck says just got busy planning today in the greenhouse and learning your freeze dry. Oh my goodness. I've been looking at those and going, I don't know. I'm kind of want to gear my food preservation more towards growing things that are inherently self-preserving. That way, if I can't find electricity to run a food dehydrator or a pressure canner or whatever it is that I need for preservation, I can preserve my food in a way that it still keeps. So things like the daylily tuber, I leave it in the ground. Things like the canna lilies, I leave those in the ground. Dig them up whenever you're hungry. Well, dig them up a day before you're hungry because it takes about a day to get the roots prepared properly to eat. You want to boil them first for about half an hour or so, maybe even longer, and then let them cool, and then you peel them, and then from there you just treat them like a potato. One of these days I need to take my daylily roots. Oh, I got some more too. while I was out earlier, I found another variety. So I've got a different color of flower. I like to mix up the varieties because they don't always all produce at the same time. So this one may be one particular sported daylily, and this is another sported daylily, and they're going to have different bloom cycles. And maybe I've got a canna lily that's a little bit different over here than this one, and they're going to have different bloom cycles. And as a result of that, I have different blooms coming on all throughout the growing season. And I like to eat my flowers. I grow flowers that I can eat. I discovered, I think it was last year, that whenever I was eating mostly the daylily flowers and salad out of just eating them out of hand, I was munching on these flowers and I discovered I wasn't hungry. And I didn't realize at the time because I was thinking, it's mainly just like lettuce. Maybe it's got a little bit of nutrition in it. But I didn't really realize at the time how much nutrition was in those flowers. And then later on, I was looking at it up and realized, wow, these things are full of protein. They have fat calories in them as well. So you're getting yourself filled up and it's good nutrition instead of just something with volume to it, which is what most lettuce is. And so I've just been munching away on those throughout the spring and on into the summer months. I'm just browsing in the garden. That's where my food comes from. And then, of course, as the winter months come along, we have obviously lots of very good storage roots, which are also pretty flowers, which are also edible flowers, which also attract pollinators and everything else. So it's all cooperative, working together and making this environment that hopefully one of these days will look pretty. It looks kind of ratty right now. Well, hopefully one of these days it's going to be pleasant to look at and also be abundantly productive. Thank you. It's Hardneck Farm. Wendy, right? It's Wendy. Am I right? Wendy is Hardneck Farms. I think it is. All right. What? Vicky's getting piglets. Ooh. Piglets are nice. Piglets make bacon. Okay, yes, it is. Okay, I thought it was. Bacon. I like bacon. If I could find an animal or something that produced bacon on the micro scale, I would so do it. But the thought occurs to me, you get enough daylilies going, you might actually be able to feed a pig on daylily tubers. you might be able to. So one of the things I've noticed here, whenever you go to harvest your daylilies, right, you're digging these plants up, you want to spread them out to maybe about 4, 5, 6 inches apart if you want to intensively plant. That way, by the time the next year rolls around, they're going to be just tightly packed again, right? Right now, if I'm trying to produce more plants to get more plants to be produced, I spread them out a little bit further so the new plant has some room to get established. So I'm doing that simply because I'm trying to grow more plants. If I'm trying to produce more tubers and more flowers, then I'm going to move them to be about maybe 6 inches apart, and we'll maybe hex pack them like 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, and we do one here. So they make a little diamond pattern, go across like that, just completely fill in your area. Whenever you go harvest, you're going to have extra plants. You're going to have to do something with those extra plants. Eventually, you're going to run out of places to plant your extra plants. I know that may seem strange, but you're going to have room to walk over here to get to your plants over here and get to your plants over there. And once you get done with your harvest, you're going to have all these plants left over, and you won't know what to do with them. And you can either sell them to other people that want to have plants, and that's a good use for them. You can make a little bit of money doing that, and spread the plants around so everybody has them. And if everybody has them, then nobody needs to fear starving. If nobody needs to fear starving, then a lot of the pressure that makes the world just go crazy goes away with that. But you can take those plants and you can feed them to the livestock. You can feed them to your pigs. I bet I can feed them to my ducks, but I don't want to train my ducks to eat my daylilies. So I might process them into feed pellets and then feed the feed pellets to my ducks. So they don't look at them and go, ooh, that plant's food, I'm going to eat that plant, because I want my ducks to be able to go out in between where I have daylilies, and I want them to weed amongst there and not eat my daylilies. So far, the experiment with having them weed around the garlic is working okay. They don't eat the garlic, but they do trample it a bit. So I have to limit their exposure. I can let them go into the garlic maybe for like one day out of the week. They can just go in there, chomp, chomp, chomp. There's clover planted in amongst there, so it's lots of good, tasty food for them. They don't eat the garlic. They might nibble at a tip every now and then. Oh, that's not what I want to eat, and then they go on about their business. And then after that, the garlic can spend the rest of the week growing back up and recovering from it. If anything, it'll give it character. But what I'm hoping, what I'm hoping is by allowing the ducks to trample in and around the areas where I have garlic planted, I might be able to grow it outside of my specific gopher-proof raised beds. Uh, we've got videos covering how to build those, what they're for, why, of course, we have to have them, and I can always grow some root crops like garlic in those, but I really want to preserve those for growing our walking onions in, because I really want to be able to provide walking onions to you guys out there, because there's not a whole lot of places that have walking onion for sale, and it is such an excellent plant to have planted around in your garden, all around, everywhere. Just plant it everywhere and spread it whenever it reproduces. Spread it around everywhere, and eventually it just sort of wants to take over. It'll insert itself into odd places, and you'll look over there and go, oh wow, there's onions growing there. There's onions growing there. There's another onion growing over there, and you just reach over there and pick up your onion and go, well, we've got the onions that we need for the salad that we're making, or for the soup that we're making, or for the omelet I'm getting ready to prepare. And it was just growing right there. All you have to do is pull it up, take it with you. Yeah, Vicky is making a point, and this is also a reason why I've got ducks. The ducks might trample the garlic, but the chickens would scratch it out. Yeah. Carolyn says, I have a food forest right now on my 1.33 acres. Oh, wow, you're so fortunate. I bought, oh my, pardon me. I bought 7.25 acres in middle Georgia. Nice. I'm planting a new food forest there. I'm propagating all my plants to take up this. That is cool. That's really what we are trying to do here as well. There's a parable that the great teacher Joshua used to give, where he's talking about a man left to go on business, and he left his servants to tend to his affairs. And to one he leaves a certain number of talents, to another he leaves a slightly larger number of talents, and so on and so forth. Whenever he gets back from tending his affairs and he sees what's been done with his talents, his money, whatever he left behind for his servants to manage, there's one that says, here, I took the stuff that you gave me, and I hid it away, kept it safe, and here's your property back to you. And another guy says, I took it and I invested and I doubled it, and here's what I got. And the other one says, well, I took it and I did even more. And the at the end of the story, he says, to the servants that took what they were given and they made it more productive, well done, you good and faithful servant. Come into the reward that your Lord has for you. It's a great story, but also the way it relates to my philosophy is, I only have a third of an acre here. I've got 2 1/6 acre lots. There's a house on that one that's dang near condemned and needs to be torn down. There's a garage on this one that's dang near condemned and needs to be torn down. This house was built in the 1940s, and they didn't exactly build it to make it easy to maintain. So we're going to keep it going for as long as we can. But everything else that we have, we can grow something in. And what I want to do is try to take what I have and do the maximum amount that I can with it. And if I can demonstrate my ability to take this small amount that I've been entrusted with and make it more productive, then perhaps I'll be ready to move on to bigger things. So I can move on to a larger acreage, having demonstrated my ability to manage a smaller one. Anyway, that's my thought process. But a lot of people are going out and they're reaching for, I want to get the 10 acres. I want to get the 40 acres. I want to get this large acreage, not with an understanding of how much they actually need to produce for themselves and their family, how much they're going to need to produce for maybe a business or a livelihood. They're just going, I need X number of acres. And they haven't started doing anything with any amount of property or land at all. So get started where you are, grow where you're planted, I guess would be a way to put it. And if you wind up being capable of handling greater responsibilities, then those opportunities may present themselves to you. Keep your eyes open for it. And when they do present themselves, whenever that door opens, walk on through, because that's what you're here for. Vicky was asking me if I'm ready for some watercress. I am not ready for watercress just yet. I've got a lot of outdoor aquatic stuff to set up before I'll be ready for watercress. I don't think I'm going to do the duck pond digging until the hot part of the summer. Actually, I'll set up some shade, or maybe work at night. I probably work at night because that way I won't disturb the ducks. But during the hot part of the summer, whenever we do get our seasonal drought, will probably be the best time to do that. That way I can get all the digging done. I won't have to slog through the mud. I can put the liners in. I can set it up so that I can flush the bottom of it off. And the way the duck pond idea is supposed to work is we have about maybe 4 foot of water. At the very bottom, I've got a drain pipe that comes up to about 6 inches above uh, ground level. And then the pond keeps going up for about another foot or so. So the pond level will be a little bit above ground level when fully full, which means that the empty spout, which is below the top of the pond level and above ground level, whenever it's open, and this will be like about a 3-inch valve, 3-inch pipe, 3-inch valve. So quite a bit of volume will be able to go through this quickly. I don't want it to clog because there's going to be sludge down there. When we open this up, it'll flush off the crud on the very bottom of the duck pond, which we're going to shape wide out here with a little shelf that'll come up, so that'll catch some of the sludge. We'll have water chestnut growing at this level. It'll come down, and as it comes down, it'll go into this V. At the bottom of the V is where that drain pipe is. So all the nasty duck poo will wind up, after fertilizing the water chestnuts, settling on the bottom. And then we just open up the valve, flush it off. It goes straight out into the corn patch, which has trenches cut out through it, connecting to the rest of the backyard garden. So whenever I empty water into one part of it, it will suffuse throughout the rest of the network. I water the entire garden whenever I flush off the excess from the duck pond. This way, I can make the task of, if I do have to manually pump water for the ducks, I only have to do this once or twice a week, and it's one decent day's worth of exercise. Get those arms pumped, and our ducks will have water, and I can open up the valve and whoosh, water the garden at the same time. Oh, fertilize the garden at the same time too, since it's duck manure mixed with water being circulated out to the plants. That's the plan. Anyway, fun stuff coming up. I've got to get busy. Shoot, I don't know if I'm going to do it tomorrow. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. I've got to get busy setting up a new fence for the ducks. Vicky said, okay. Vicky has a very, very large acreage. But to be fair, she bought it a long time before I said you probably don't need that many acres. And having that acres allows you to be in a position to be a blessing for others too. So yeah. The Ozarks is beautiful. It really is. It's a shame they clear cut it. It's all grown back now. I mean, there's trees there. It's just not the originals. There's more of them down there in Arkansas. There's more of the pine forest in Arkansas. But back up in Missouri, on the other side of the Bull Shoals Lake, other side of the lake from where Vicky's at, they replanted eastern red cedar instead of pine. Stray Kitten has an important question here, and it's valuable. Does the whole sunflower soak up the bad stuff or just the stalks? I would not eat the seeds. You could save them to plant to grow another sunflower out of, because there's not going to be a whole lot of radiation in one seed. But I still wouldn't want to eat the seeds. If we have an event, knock on wood, and the tree. There we go. There's that tree. There we go. knock on wood. Hopefully we don't have. Hopefully we don't need to use sunflowers to clean up a radioactive country. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does, gather the entire plant and dispose of the entire plant. The entire thing. Pull it up by the roots. Roots too. Take the entire plant and treat it like toxic waste. Find some place where you can dispose of all of those plants together. They can compost down into some slightly radioactive earth that you can just seal away and not interact with for a while. Eventually, it'll be safe to interact with, but yeah. But yeah, dispose of the entire sunflower. If we don't have a radioactive event, then cut down the stalks or leave them standing. Remove the sunflower heads. Get your seeds out. All right, so sunflowers are really good hyperaccumulators of a number of different minerals. It just so happens that cesium and strontium are among those, but the sunflower doesn't discriminate. If there was regular cesium and regular strontium in the soil, it would go ahead and grab a hold of those and pull them out of the soil as well. Just typically, there's not any of those particular metals. It will absorb lead. It will absorb copper. I believe it also sort of absorbs manganese to a certain extent. So some of these things that might be used in mining spoil operations, you could use sunflowers. Although most of your mining spoil operations, datura or gypsum weed is a better hyperaccumulator. It's just sunflower happens to be really good at those particular elements, strontium and cesium. You got a convenient block on your shoulders, yeah? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, guys. We're almost there. I'm gonna pick up this thing and play it a little bit as we head out. If you guys have any questions or something that you would like to share, by all means do so. Let's see, what was I gonna do? So if I don't know if the lead, etc., in soil, I shouldn't eat. Okay, so in all likelihood, unless you're the place where you're living is a place where they've been doing a mining operation and leaching metals out of ore, you're not going to have high concentrations of lead in your soil. You might be living on a place where once upon a time there was a recycling operation that refurbished old lead acid batteries, and then you might have some lead in your soil. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about lead being in your soil unless you're in one of those situations. And chances are, if you are, you're going to know about it already. Also, lots of heavy metals don't take up into plants readily. There are some plants that are good at absorbing certain things. For example, sunflowers can absorb certain metals. Gypsum weed absorbs certain metals. But most of the time, most of your vegetable plants aren't going to be taking up heavy metals from the soil unless you have variation in pH that makes those metals soluble. So if your soil pH is anywhere from 6.5 to 7.5, your greatest threat of absorbing toxic metals through the food that you eat that's grown in that soil is mitigated. You're most likely not going to get much in the way at all in lead toxicity, lead toxicity or any other metal toxicity, simply because the metal is not soluble. But certain plants, because of the bacterial associations that they form, will talk to bacteria, essentially exchanging sugars at the root level with those bacteria, and those bacteria will go, yo, you want some of this selenium? Here, let me go get some selenium for you. Here you go. I can process this mineral and give it to you. Or you want some of this cesium? Okay, I can get a cesium oxide and I can bond that and make it methylated, and you can uptake that. Enjoy. And so on and so forth. This occurs at the root level. This is how most plants get their nutrients, is with a cooperation with soil bacteria. That's why using sterile soil ultimately winds up with sickly plants. The bacteria are necessary to make the plant grow well. Fungi as well. Vicky's saying one of the nearer towns is Lead Hill, so called because there's at least one lead mine here. I think Galena is not too far away. Of course, Galena is lead ore. That's over there in Missouri, though. There's a lot of lead and copper mines in Missouri. Missouri has, incidentally, tons and tons of lead, copper, and zinc. Forgot where it was. All righty. So I don't know what to call that. That's just something I've been playing with. Jan T asking, any ideas about getting rid of ticks? Can't have guinea hens. Well, if you can't have guinea hens, you've got ticks. Chickens are good for getting rid of ticks. Hardnack is saying, if you haven't sprayed your yard, get triple threat beneficial nematodes. That would be a thought. Yeah, if you can't have something that's going to go around like a bird that will eat them for you, which would be the ideal way to get rid of ticks. What Wendy is suggesting right there, there are some nice bacteriological based pesticide things that you can use that will go and attack your little bloodsuckers like ticks and cutworms, which are serious garden pests. Ideally, you want to have birds of some sort. If you can't get, here's something. If you can't have guinea hens, get bird feeders. Get lots and lots of bird feeders. Like for a one-third acre property, 4. For a sixth of an acre property, 3. Your average urban lot, at least 3 bird feeders, 2 or 3. Make sure you have bird feeders. Make sure you have surface water in more than one place. Surface water more than one place. So at least 2 bird feeders. That way, if one of them is crowded or it doesn't look safe to the birds, they've got another place where they can go. So either here or there. Try to have some sort of habitat for them. Plant bushy shrubs so that your little birds have places to hide. Plant lots of trees for the birds to have places to hide. Those are also good places to hang the bird feeders from. And what you'll find that happens whenever especially if you're planting things like, or not, well, I mean, you can plant them too. But if you're feeding things like the sunflowers, don't feed grain, don't feed corn, don't feed millet, don't feed black thistle. I mean, you can, but you're going to wind up with black thistle. The plants are going to get planted. So if you don't want thistles growing in your yard, don't feed black thistle. But you can grow sunflowers. You can plant sunflowers. You can feed sunflowers and you can feed safflowers, and you can plant and grow those in your yard. You won't have any big problems with them. You will attract a kind of bird that will eat your ticks because you'll attract a large flock, a diverse flock. Now, the squirrel solution for your bird feeders, because bird feeders often attract squirrels. No corn, no peanuts. Put large amounts of safflower in there. Now, right now, safflower is expensive. It's about $26 for like a 10-pound bag. If you can get a cheaper supply, and let me know where you found it. I'll go shop there too. And you mix it with about a 50-pound or 40-pound bag of sunflower. So maybe about 1/4 safflower to sunflower. Most of the food is going to be sunflower. The safflower in the mix is just there because squirrels don't like it. But nuthatches like it, and chickadees like it, and doves love it. Your cardinals like it. The juncos like it. Buntings of all kinds like it. Indigo buntings like it. Colored painted buntings like it. The house finches like it. The yellow finches like it. Like the goldfinches like it. So all of those different birds will come in and they'll eat the safflower. But squirrels just don't like the way it smells. It offends their noses or something. That's weird, but they don't like it. So they'll come around and they'll mess with the pecan tree for the nuts, but they stay out of the bird feeder. And I've caught them. I've caught them coming and stealing nuts, and they're just going to go around. They're going to stash them in other places. They're going to do what squirrels do. They get enough to eat. They're not starving, but they'll come and they'll gather some of my nuts and they'll plant them in other places. And periodically, I'll look over and they go, "Oh, there's a pecan tree here. That's one of mine." And then I can go and I can pick it up and replant it and put it into the. I'm getting ready to show you this next video I'm producing. Incidentally, next video coming up, I will show you what I do with the plants that don't sell, with the trees that don't sell, because we're coming up to the end of the dormancy period. And guys, if you have not been to greencountryagroforestry.com yet, and you have not bought, if you have not bought your trees yet, the redbud trees are getting ready to get put away and not sold, because once they break dormancy, I am not going to uproot them and send them anywhere. The only way I'd be able to ship them that way is if I ship them with the soil matrix still attached to them, and then you'd be paying for me to ship dirt. So I'm not going to ship dirt. You've got dirt. You can make your own dirt. You don't need my dirt. So whenever they go dormant again, I'll ship them again. So we've got maybe about one more week before I take the redbud trees down off of the website until fall rolls around and everything goes dormant again. So if you're going to get them. We've got about 10 left, other than the ones that I'm already planning on potting and growing for another year anyway, because I want them to have them. I want to have them at least 1 foot to 2 foot tall before I ship them out. Cost me right now about $14 shipping. I flat rate $10 for the shipping. So yeah, I wind up coming a little bit out of pocket to ship one tree, but you get two, it'll be $50, and I'll cover shipping for both trees. There you go. Redbud trees are great. They have a lifespan, if you don't pollard them, of about 25 years. If you do pollard them, let them grow out for about 4 or 5 years and then cut them back and let them grow out as a bush for about 4 or 5 years and then cut them back. If you keep on doing that, they'll live forever. You'll have that same redbud forever and ever. It'll never die. And every year it'll produce an abundance of bright pink blossoms that'll feed your early pollinators, especially your bees. Your bees know that they can come to your yard if they want to get something to eat, which means they're on hand to pollinate everything else that you have that needs pollinated. So feed your bees, even if you're not raising them for honey. You want to feed them. Redbud honey is great. The flowers also are edible for us. The seed pods are edible for about maybe a week after the flowers go. And then if you are feeling adventurous, you can always pressure cook the seeds and serve them up like lentils. They are a legume. I don't really like to, because it's just a lot of work, but you can. I'd rather eat them fresh off the tree whenever the pods are still tender and green. But I just throw them in with a little bit of butter, salt, pepper, and yum yum in the tum-tum. Let me see. Vicky, see. If you can find a squirrel stash, all of the nuts will be good. Yeah, chances are a squirrel's not going to bother to take nuts that they don't like and stash them away. So not only will they be good, but there's a good chance that it's going to be a better quality tree that will grow out of those nuts. Moonsprout say they're blooming in Texas right now. The redbuds blooming in Texas. Oh my goodness. Redbuds are so pretty. They are so pretty. Let me see here. Do I have a picture of a redbud? Well, we've got the close up of the flowers right there. If you look over there, you see those flowers? Aren't they pretty? And that's not a fluke. Every branch, even the trunk of the tree, is going to be covered with these blooms. It just explodes. And for about 3 weeks in the spring, you have this most vibrant pink imaginable. And I think the only thing that really rivals them is some of the prunus species, your cherries, almonds, peaches. Those plants, whenever they bloom, they have really bright pink. That might be a little bit more intense pink, but the redbud has a lot more of it. And then, okay, of course, whenever these, why am I pointing at the screen? So whenever these flowers that are up here, whenever they start to fade away and they produce a little tiny pea pod-like seed pod, whenever the flower is just almost completely gone, is the perfect time to pick those little pods and you take them and you saute them, olive oil or butter, and a little bit of salt and pepper, and you're just in heaven. And that's like 1 week. 1 week you get to eat this as a side dish off of your tree, and then it's on to something else. And hopefully you have your garden arranged this way so that it's just one thing after the other, after the other, after the other, and everything in your yard is food. And it's just a question of timing everything. So have a whole bunch of different things is what I'm trying to get at. Billy, torturing those poor squirrels. You can always use a rat trap nailed to a tree and baited with peanut butter. Squirrel's good eating. You know what's good with squirrel? Get some nice daylily tubers. Get yourself about, I'd go with maybe twice this many. So about maybe 2 square foot worth of daylily tubers. You go ahead and dig those up, wash them off, pick the little rootlets off of those, parboil them for about 10 minutes or so. You go ahead, maybe cut each one of those in half. They're pretty close to bite size already, but you just go ahead and cut them out, or just mash them just ever so slightly before you throw them in the stock pot with your squirrel. After you get your bones out, you want to simmer your broth with the bones a little bit to get all the good stuff out. Then remove the bones. So you got your squirrel meat in there with your stew. Throw a little bit of garlic in there, some onions, of course those tubers, maybe some fresh greens, and you are off to the races, folks. And that squirrel was only coming in because he likes your mulberry trees, and he probably wants to try eating some of your garlic or onions or something like that while you're not watching. So he had it coming. Oh, Irish UMC vet says, so I can do 1 acre of, if you do a full acre of sunflowers and you wind up with the highest stalk count, then you are going to get your choice of Amazon gift card or Haas Tools gift card or something similar that I can ship to you through the mail. You will not get this portrait of a somewhat overweight exhibitionist, because somebody will probably see that in the mail and just yank it, and you won't get your prize. But I can send you the digital code for the gift card, and you can use the gift card, and nobody can steal your stuff, and that's a little bit more secure. So we'll do it that way. Let me see. Clover annual drop seeds. Some clovers are. The clover that I like to plant, and I don't know if I happen to have. I might actually have the seeds around here somewhere. Brendan was asking me questions about it, and he kind of shoved it in my face the other day. I've got a salt shaker around here, a Lowry salt shaker, seasoning salt shaker. The holes on it are just big enough that whenever I take it and I open it up and I sprinkle it like this, poppy seeds, sunflower seeds, little tiny fiddly seeds like that get distributed just perfectly. The ones that I like to plant are the Trifolium repens or Dutch white clover, which is a perennial. It does produce seeds, although I never bother trying to harvest the seeds. I probably could, but I haven't practiced or attempted to harvest the seeds from the clover flower, so I'm not offering the seeds for sale. There are plenty of companies out there that do that. Get them from them. Seed Ranch is the place where I got mine, and I've never had any problem with Seed Ranch seed. So there you go. They don't pay me to say that. It's just the truth. But yeah, you can get annual varieties of clover too that come in different colors. Like a nice there's one crimson variety that I know of that's a perennial, but most of the crimson clovers are annual. Yes, use a salt shaker, or make sure you get the salt out first, because you probably don't want to sow your ground with salt, but it works great for it. Irish says he did 5 acres last year, couldn't give them away, and so they became feed for the ducks and chickens. Awesomeness. So yeah, if you do a full acre, just do a video showing I'm planting my sunflowers. Show yourself planting the sunflowers, so we know you actually went out and planted sunflowers, and tag that with the hashtag sunflower SUNFLOWER 2023, so we can find that video, and then comment down below on the comments for this video with a link for your video where you plant your sunflowers, so I can go see it and go, okay, yeah, they planted sunflowers. And then at the end of the growing season, do a second video where you just stack up the stalks, the sunflower stalks that you harvested the entire plant, stalks and all, roots and all, pull them all out, stack them up, just as if you were harvesting them for bioremediation to remove the fallout metals, strontium and cesium from the soil to make your soil safe to grow in again. And whoever grows the most gets $100 gift card. That's the challenge. We will close the challenge. When's a good time? November, October. Let's do it November. You should be done bringing in your sunflower stocks by the end of November. So the end of November will be the cutoff. So between November and December will be the time that you turn in your second video, and I'll go through them and we'll check your count. Whoever grows the most sunflowers. Do the sunflowers need to cure? Well, yeah, ideally they're completely done and dry by the time you pull them up. So preferably cured. People who live in Texas, I'm going to tell you this right now. People who live in Texas and Florida and any place south. So this would include you guys in Arizona in some cases. If you have a long enough growing season that you can grow 2 crops, we're only going to count 1. To make it fair, we're only going to count 1. And so we will be providing this to anyone in the continental United States. Yes, we'll include Alaska, although I don't expect an Alaska is going to be able to outgrow everybody else in sunflowers, but who knows? And yes, when it comes down to the counting phase, you do not necessarily have to be collecting sunflowers on your own property. You can go and plant sunflowers other places. So if you go and you guerrilla plant sunflowers, and I highly recommend you do this because this is the way you're going to win. You're not going to win just planting in your own garden. You're going to win by guerrilla planting. So if you go out and guerrilla plant sunflowers, it's going to send the message that we want to send, which is to tell those people in political positions of power, hey, we're a little bit concerned about what you're doing here. Could you maybe dial off the aggression a bit so that we don't glow in the dark? Thanks, we appreciate it. And then again, if that doesn't work, we have the bioremediation already in place. So it's doing 2 things. And then, of course, if everything works out well, then our birds that are going to be responsible for taking care of the insect apocalypse will have plenty of food and will benefit that way. So it's a good deal all the way around. Yeah, if you're not going to replant, you can't keep a sunflower very long because they're high in oil content, and oil goes rancid. It'll rot if they don't dry out. So you got to use them. And they do make good feed. So good feed for animals, good feed for other animals too. That is so awesome. I love to hear that. Yeah, just I've got a green belt. I've got a park garden path that's running nearby, and if I can manage to sneak trees and plants out there and convince the people that run the parks that they're supposed to be there so that they don't cut them down, within a couple of years, I've got another hazelnut tree growing up beside the bike trail and the jogging trail, which of course attracts the wildlife. So the people are running along through the park system and go, oh, look at all the pretty squirrels, look at all the birds, look at all the wildlife. Isn't it beautiful to live here? Look at all the flowers. And of course, that's what we want to see. We want to see a garden planet. We want to see a planet that's bursting with life and beauty, where people don't have to worry about where they're going to get their next meal because food is just everywhere. Anyway, there we go. Stray Kitten is saying, make a protest sign to post by the Guerrilla Sunflowers. There you go. That's another great idea. Hey, guys, if you can take pictures, absolutely. Take pictures, post them up on social media, put the links in the comments below. I'll go ahead and approve those links so other people can see them. And you can see how everybody is planting sunflowers and making the world a more beautiful place, a more peaceful place, and a better place to live in. Because you know what? We have politicians that give us problems, but we, the people, we're the ones that have to come up with the solutions. So we got to roll up our sleeves, so to speak. I know I'm wearing a short sleeve today. Get to work, plant sunflowers this year, and look for our video coming out later on this week where I show you how we go about taking the trees that we have that are planted by nature here on our property. We take them, nature plants them, we let them grow with their parents for 1 year, and then we extract them and either send them straight out to you after that 1 year, or we move them into a temporary system where we hold them so they'll be ready to ship out as bare root plants after a year of management as nursery plants. If you'd like to see that process and what it looks like, I've got a pretty cool way of handling this you might want to see, and that is coming out on Sunday. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, and guys, just get out there and get growing, and I will catch you next time. Good night, everybody.